Hello, welcome to the Football 360 show. I'm your host, JP Rock. He is Matt Bierman, as always. Special thanks to our sponsor, Wendy's in Chesterfield, Missouri. You can find them on Airport Road in Chesterfield Valley. Work hard, play hard, place to go. To play hard is Wendy's, the family-owned and operated operation known for their pizza, wings, and live entertainment. Have a great time inside or out on the heated patio. So that means you can go there all winter long, Matt, and just have a great time. There's something about the outdoors in the winter time and still being warm.
Yes.
And having a good time that really appeals. Wendy's also has carry out and online ordering available. Stop by, check them out. You will not be disappointed, especially for the holidays. And tell them that Matt and JP sent you and you heard about it on the Football 360 show. If you're interested in being a sponsor for Football 360 Show, contact Megs at football360show.com. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great.
What's your socials?
It is Elite Football on Twitter and Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
And you can catch me at JP Rock MO on X/Twitter and JP Rock Scout U on Instagram. And of course, we have a website as well.
Football360show.com.
Right.
All the episodes are on there. You can ask questions and communicate.
All kinds of stuff. Got some extra questions this week that if I can remember them,
yes.
if I didn't write them down, then I'm gonna go ahead and bring them up. And man, that was fast. It was
really fast.
It was really fast. Really fast football season. High school football is over with. We have some state champions. I'm sure we'll probably discuss a little bit of bowl seasons here. The regular college football seasons here. The transfer portal is in full effect, and I would like to announce right now that I'm entering the transfer portal.
But you thank all your coaches, family,
I want to thank all my coaches. It's been a great time. I learned a lot. You made me a man, but that's it. I'm
yeah.
I got to go higher ground.
That is a really interesting. There's people going in for the right reasons and people going in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, there's. I got to tell you what, and we'll touch on it because I just, I don't like to talk about the off the field stuff too much, but this is something that's a little different because it's really changing the game of college football.
Oh, 100%.
It's not your dad's college football. It's not even our college football anymore. It's not 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's professional football.
It is professional football.
At the FBS level.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And I would imagine that at some point you might have them be in direct competition with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't make some kind of a deal, because they love to make deals with them to be their official, minor league system.
Yeah.
Professional, but not on the same level.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to all of the inner workings of how it's getting paid. I just saw the NCAA is about to propose, or at least their president proposed a new basically a subdivision, they called it, which I don't quite understand exactly why they'd have a subdivision to do it, but it would be basically an education trust fund where each school would have to put in minimum $30,000 a month, a year per athlete.
I was going to say that's going to knock a lot of people out.
So then the problem is if you do that, it becomes Title IX if the universities do it, and then it becomes a really big cost expenditure that, quite honestly, I don't see anybody but the big Power 5 schools doing.
And that's eventually probably what's going to wind up happening. You're probably going to wind up just having the big boys, which will be the minor leagues or another pro league. It already is. And then you're going to see other schools just give up football. The little guys first will give up football and then upwards and upwards until you really just have the Power 5 league. Would that be a good name?
The Power 5 league. Yeah. And you saw locally here what happened with Lindenwood University. I mean, great school. Yeah. They add Division I football or Division I sports.
Yep.
Football being the mainstay along with basketball. And then they just announced that they're, they eliminated 9 sports.
Yeah.
So
I saw
those,
that.
Track and field hockey and
you're going to see more and more of that. And what's going to wind up happening is you're going to have some really good professional Power 5 teams, and then you're going to have guys who play high school football not be able to play college football unless it's like a club team situation, which I don't know how that would work.
That's what they do. That's what they do in the club teams in hockey.
Right. Right.
So that's a lot of those. And then they have,
They're going to do a lot of fundraising, I guess, in order to.
It's a very expensive sport to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how that all shakes out because, football is the mainstay for most schools, right, as far as making money. And then, so it does make sense. But, and to some degree, it's a little unfair because it funds all the other extracurriculars that go on. So, it'll work itself out, right? I think at some point it'd probably be wise to think that the NCAA won't even be involved, that they will find their way out the door.
Already hearing whispers of that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big battle. That's going to be lawsuits and legal, battles and ramifications going forward. And it's really going to be up in the air. So it's really just, in transition.
Yeah.
As to what's
going on. I think too, for like the kids that are seniors right now, unfortunately, like we're seeing, there's kids obviously getting offers, but you're seeing like the plethora of like smaller schools are starting to come in, which happens this time of year, every year, right?
Yep.
As we get closer to the initial signing day in December, you'll see a bunch of the smaller schools come in. And then once the guys at the top kind of get cleared out that are early signing, then there's another recruiting period that takes place, from mid-December through February.
They reshuffle the recruiting boards, right? Look at the tiers, see who's there, see who didn't sign, see who's available.
Yeah.
And then it all starts
over again. Yeah.
So if you are one of those guys, don't be upset. Don't be upset. I'm not getting my offers. Hang tight and see how things shake out after the first signing day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good approach because at the end of the day, you can only go to one school,
right?
This is not like an unlimited situation where you get to go to a bunch of different schools. So yeah, you may have a bunch of offers.
Well, you do, but not right away.
You get to go to one school at a time, right? So I think that's really important because at the end of the day, like you have to go where you fit best. And, sometimes that fit might not be what you thought it was going to be, right? I was talking to a high school coach this morning and he made the comment that, the realization's kicking in for some of his guys that they're not going to be going to Alabama or a Power 5 school.
No.
And to me, it's great to have a dream, but it's also, you have to be grounded and be around people that are realistic with you, right? Because if you're around someone that's been selling you a dream that you're going to be that guy, if it doesn't happen by like your sophomore year, like usually like where the recruiting attention starts to really start to pop the end of sophomore going into junior year, like those big Power 5 schools are recruiting 2 classes out. They're not recruiting their 2024 class right now. They're done for the most part, right?
For the most part, 2024.
They're fighting over the same kids,
right? But at the same time, I will say that 2025, there are juniors who people don't know about yet,
that are going to start,
who will be P5 players.
Yeah, those guys will start, but they had to have had an emergent year this year, right? But a lot of those, like the high level, like quarterbacks, so to speak, they're offered as sophomores. Like that's just the way it is. Because you talk to those guys that already have those offers, there's kids filling up the class of 2025 as far as quarterback commits all over the country, right?
Yeah.
So because there's only one spot for those guys. So linemen are a little bit different. Some of the defensive backs and receivers, where they're taking a little bit larger classes. But yeah, there's guys that are juniors. But if you go into your senior year and you don't have a bunch of offers going into it, it doesn't mean you can't get them, but the odds are definitely stacked.
Especially in today's day and age, because they don't need to spend the time and money evaluating guys like that because they can go to the portal. Look at the portal. Look at the quarterbacks in there.
It's unbelievable.
Look at the big time quarterbacks that are in there. And you want to know what? The schools that are going to get them are the big time programs.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to Vanderbilt. They're not going to go to South Carolina. They're going to, you already see the names lined up. You already see him, what's his name? Cam Ward. He's good. I'm already hearing he's going to go to Ohio State, which, by the way, Merry Christmas, Mizzou fans. 10 of like the entire starting offense for Ohio State is entering the transfer portal. But, you already see the names lining up to the schools they're going to go to. And guess what? They're the schools that are in the top 10, for the most part of the teams that are going to be playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, that top 10 quarterbacks that have come out are legit. I mean, they're all starters. But people got to understand the reason why that's happening is, some kids are making bad choices. Those top 10 quarterbacks probably aren't making bad choices.
Mm-hmm.
They've probably been advised by their agents, right? Because they have agents now.
It's 100%.
That they should come out due to financial reasons, right?
Yep.
And so there's, the Coach Rule at Nebraska came out and said, the cost of a starting quarterback to transfer in from transfer portals,
$2 million,
$1.5 to $2 million. And I think that is a realistic, expectation of a lot of those guys going out and transferring. Now, at the end of the day, you gotta put up or shut up, and you got to be a guy that comes in there and does what he's supposed to do. But, I think if you get that kind of money, I mean, that's better than going in as a rookie for the most part. If you're not a first one or two rounds, and you're getting guaranteed money to live in the same place you've been living, getting a scholarship, all your food paid for.
Yeah,
that's a good situation for those guys. Now,
good life.
The other end of the spectrum is, you're playing at a smaller school, and you still got loans and you got things like that. I mean, so yeah, there are different varying degrees, and a lot of that, if you trace back to who those guys are, a lot of them were, especially the quarterbacks, were guys that somebody anointed when they were young, right? And then that follows them kind of through the recruiting cycle, if you will. And then those guys are the guys that get to school that have better expectations, and then they're a little bit higher recruit, and so people really put a lot of stock in them, so they get a little bit more visibility, get a few more shots, and then if they do what they're supposed to do, they get their playing time. If they get playing time, then potentially they can jump when they earn
you don't even need playing,
respectable stats.
You don't even need playing time anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is these young guys that are leaving that don't have any playing time, that were like a 4-star recruit. A lot of them are going to have to figure out they're going to have to drop down, a peg or two, right? I mean, unless a coach that really loved them is somewhere that's like, hey, we need to pick this guy back.
Like Oregon State.
Yeah.
Their new head coach, guess what? Their quarterback over there is going to transfer to Michigan State now.
Yeah.
So that's the job that he took. But you're seeing that. You're seeing all the big schools are going to be the ones that get the top quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get opportunities to transfer, because quarterback is a prime position.
What do you think about the guys that are like the 4-star guys, like, kid at Mizzou just left, DJ
Wesolak?
Yeah. So he's what, a freshman?
Yeah, he's going to have 3 years eligibility left. And what's interesting about him, though, is that he came in, I think he was sick. He might have had mono or something else, lost a bunch of weight, never really got on there. But another thing that comes into play is, how do you get along with your position coach? Is he your coach? Are you in his doghouse? There's a lot of politics that are involved. And if there's somebody else that they like better and you come in and you're the big guy who was, just right down the road, within a stone's throw of Columbia, and they build you up as you're the guy, and then you don't play, you want to go, and he'll be able to play. I mean, he has all of the tools.
Yeah, you just hope. The thing is like those guys are so ready to play early, and what they don't understand is the game is different than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
right. Because of the transfer portal, they can bring in a guy that's got 2-3 years experience, and now you're suddenly further back down the depth chart.
Yep.
So to think you're just going to go jump in somewhere because you were a 4-star at Mizzou, if you don't have good film and you don't pick the right situation, you can find yourself right back in the same problem you just left, right? So, I think it's just one of those really tough things, and you have to have good people around you. I mean, I can't tell you the number of kids I've advised over the years about my thoughts, and when they ask where they think if they're going to transfer, especially college transfer portal guys, and a number of them have come back and said, "I wish I would have listened," because they took the bait, right? And this is kind of payment period, right? Like where guys were not really getting paid a lot to do the NIL. That's really kind of kicked up the last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
And, but again, my advice is, you got to be very careful going way too far out of the recruiting network, out of like this region, because if you do, you run the risk of becoming a dime a dozen, right? Like if you start going to big states, the Florida, California, the Texas, Georgia, where they have a lot of kids that play football that look just like you, right? That are probably just as good, that are more tied into the local football ecosystem, you can find yourself getting over recruited real fast. They'll recruit right over the top of you.
Well, and what you're gonna see is you're gonna see a lot more agents pop up, right?
Yeah.
Guys who are handling guys. And that's probably going to become a whole another industry of guys who
Yeah.
are wanting to be out there. And quite frankly, I mean, you know, tampering doesn't go on, right?
Wink, wink. Yeah.
Wink, wink. But if you're not getting that on some level, you might want to rethink, or you might want to get really, really good advice.
Yeah.
from
So
people you can trust.
if you're a guy at that level, like a Power 5 guy that's a starter, that means you're earning.
That's going to be no problem.
You're earning
Yeah.
money, right?
Yep.
If you're that, third tier guy that's not in the mix, that was a big guy coming out, you might not get the guy that's going to, be able to get you the best advice
Right.
because there's no money involved.
But you better hear through some sort of channel that
Yeah.
these people are interested in you.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. As far as like that goes,
Yeah.
I can tell you, yeah, you're not supposed to talk with anybody
Right.
prior.
But information gets to you.
But I will tell you,
Somehow.
as someone that's in the industry, yeah, there's people that call, there's people that have conversations. I mean,
what do you think if we were interested in this guy?
yeah, or what
he
do you
would
know
say?
about this
Yeah.
guy? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that happens all the time. And so, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to tell people what I know about an individual. I'm not, a street agent by any means, but I'm definitely someone that's been doing it for 24 plus years. And, that's the other thing is I listen to there's so many kids that get just absolutely horrible advice. I mean, I'm not here to knock anybody, but the vast majority of guys that are, let's call them trainers or recruiting gurus or all that, they don't know. Like, they have not done it long enough. Like, I mean, just the number of just pieces of advice or guys that glom on to individuals.
There's a lot of that.
I mean, like, just look at people's social media and you have guys posting stuff about people that they've trained or they've been around one time or two times, and they're claiming them as somebody that they train or to do that. So then you go and you think that that's someone's reputable because you think that person helped them, and you have no idea that guy has nothing to do with any of it, and let alone maybe not even a great trainer for that much, for that, so to speak. I mean, it might be someone cutting their teeth and getting into it newly, but I got to tell you, do you want to go to the person that's been doing it for a long time, that has a track record of literally hundreds, if not thousands of kids? Do you want to go through that group, or do you want to go through a group that just kind of popped up overnight? And the problem is you only get to do it one time. You don't get an unlimited number of transfers. You don't get an unlimited number of moves. You either have to be a grad transfer, or you get one free transfer. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And the more if you do a transfer early on in your career, the chances that you're going to graduate fast and get that grad transfer greatly go down, because we know how that works when you transfer colleges. So having people on your side and that know the situation and know how to do it, I think is worth its weight in gold. And usually, you're right, there are going to be guys that are charging for it. I would be wary of a lot of these. There's a lot of name, image, and likeness agents now. I'd just be wary of some of those guys in the sense that they probably understand the marketing side of things and the social media, which is probably awesome, right, for guys' value.
Meh.
But on the flip side, making decisions based on football, you got to have someone that's in the fold with football.
Well, I was talking with a high school coach this weekend, and he was discussing, and he brought it up, how these kids and parents pay close attention to your kids' social media and what they're doing and who they're talking to and who they're following and who they buy into. He was explaining how, these kids are looking to follow not just people who are going to train them or be their agent, but even people who have a camera and like, I'm media. Or people who can make an edit, right, to put online. And these kids will want to follow them because they're constantly looking for some sort of validation, clout, or recognition. And you have people who don't know what they're doing, don't have their best interest is themselves. And so they want this, and they want to following themselves. They're looking for the same thing that the kid's looking for.
Oh,
they're looking for the clout. They're looking for the look at me, look at me.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen the rise of the edit makers, if you will, right? Dirty little secret. You have a phone, for the most part, you can do the same thing with filming, having your buddy film you, and you can do it in an app.
There's templates.
But on the flip side, with the trainers, it's the same thing. Like, I mean, you bring up a great point. A lot of the young trainers that I've seen, like, their goal is to gain as equal clout as the kids that they're around, right?
Yep.
And the
You
unfortunate
see
thing
media
is,
people doing that.
the unfortunate thing is like what I've learned is that it's their time. You let the kids do their thing. You guide them and help them and train them and do the best you can. Like, look, I'm not a big guy to show up to people's signing days and commitments and all that because I'm not going to bring anything to it. My job is done, right? It's for now. We've done what we're supposed to do. We've helped them train, get them to that point. Yes, it's great to celebrate, but that's not what it's about. Like that, that was the expectation to get them there. Like we're not like this is not like, photo op, right? But then you see people showing up to people's signing days that haven't really done anything with them, and it really taints what that motive is. Like, what is your motive? Why are you really there? For the kid or for your own clout? And unfortunately, you got to be pretty cynical because a lot of guys legitimately are going to try and climb off of kids' backs, right? And believe me, over the years, what we've been doing when people didn't understand what we were doing, people would just automatically assume you're doing this to get over on people and this and that. But you look at the track record of organizations, and you'll see the fruit that their tree bears, right? You see that the fruit that comes off the tree of what they've created. So if you look at like our business in general, our training facility, our coaching tree is as extensive as most NFL coaching trees. And we have literally guys in the front office in the NFL. We have guys that are coaching in the NFL, scouting in the NFL. We have Division I coaches. We have guys that are head coaches at lower levels. Power 5 SEC guys.
Makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you feel old, but it also is like one of those things right. Where these are guys that you played a part in their process day in and day out for, 4 to 5 to 6 to 10-year period in their life. And it's exciting. But at the same time, if your motive is to really help develop and build and push the game forward, you don't need to be on social media telling everybody that's what you do.
Right.
Right. It's like, you're supposed to do certain things. If you are a coach, you're doing it for the kids. If you have to say you're doing it for the kids or this is your calling, then it might not be your calling, because the reality of it is that if you do it on a daily basis, your work shows. And I think that's probably high school coaches get really frustrated with that because, they're there every day grinding and out coaching, and they see someone pop in and they see them get opportunistic. So, we've always tried to stay in the back because that's not our goal, is not to outshine anybody.
Yeah, we've been told we don't self-promote ourselves.
Oh yeah,
enough.
I mean, I would agree. I mean, I had to tell kids at our one of our tryouts that what does JP Rock do? And I had kids say, "Well, he films." No, right. He's not a guy.
I'm not one of those dudes.
Yeah, there's guys. I mean, that's a media guy, right? Like that's someone, and God love them, because guys that are taking pictures at games and guys that are filming at games, like providing content for that. But the selfish side of the things, like, do you think anybody's going to recruit you off of an edit?
Yeah.
You know what? Your family wants that picture of you playing so they can have it the rest of your life, which is really neat to capture that moment. It's awesome. I mean, there's probably nothing cooler than getting an action photo of yourself playing football, right? It's really neat, right?
Yeah, it's just natural.
Yeah.
People want the recognition.
But at the same time, like
I mean, you can go down a whole big rabbit hole on that one of people, what they're willing to pay for, like a blurb written about them to see, so that they can repost it online, or a photo of
an offer.
Or an offer. There's anybody comes to you and tells you, pay me this, I'm going to get you an offer. They're straight up lying to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I recently had a conversation with someone a college coach who intimated that he believes there are coaches who will take money for phantom offers. I don't know what level. I don't know who's doing it. Obviously, that would be an uncommittable offer. But the problem is, and usually if you see someone that's got some kind of bizarre offer like that, or a kid that somehow faked their way.
There's been guys who've done that. There's been kids who say, I got an offer from this, and you got to be really leery of
There's a couple kids that, you watch a kid that has all these Power 5 offers, and then they end up at a low level FCS or Division II. It really makes you question if those were legitimate.
Well, no, they're not. Yeah, I mean, we talked about uncommittable offers and committable offers, and a lot of that stuff, believe it or not, you do have schools that will do the shotgun technique of I'm going to offer everybody, right? And so they want to offer that guy to see what happens with him. Does he pan out? Well, we might want this guy, but let's see how he does. Let's see how his season goes. And guess what? You weren't as good as they thought you were, but you were worth the price of giving you an offer, which was worth nothing, cost them nothing.
And I like the technique of, let's say a school like Boise State offers. Okay. Well, you should then, if you were legitimate, right? That means all those other Mountain West schools are probably going to start like kicking the tires. Like, why'd they offer that guy? Someone in their recruiting department will start to analyze, and then you'll see some copycat offers inside the conference. Doesn't mean all the schools in the conference are going to offer, but maybe a Wyoming or a UNLV might kick the tires and say, okay, let's offer this kid as well. But if you don't see that, and you see Boise State offered a kid in St. Louis, and then you don't see anybody kind of coming sniffing around, that's usually a sign that something's either they've just completely missed it, which is possible, or they're not looking for someone like that in their system, or it might be a reach, right? And then when all push comes to shove, that offer probably wasn't, committable.
Or their evaluation system is superior to everybody else's. Yeah. There's that outside chance of that one.
Yeah.
But again, if you got an offer from Boise State and your next best offer is from a D3 school, try to commit.
Now.
Right now. Yeah. Don't let the last word get out of their mouth that you have an offer and be like,
that's another thing.
I've always loved Boise State, coach. It's my dream school.
Yeah. And actually, it's a pretty darn cool place to go play.
It actually
is. You can handle the blue turf.
That's true. Doesn't make you sick.
By the way, they won the Mountain West. So, but I do think that like it's one of those things where if you get the opportunity, so we're talking about someone popping an offer that's kind of out there, and you're like, hey, it's a school that you'd really want to go to. Human nature is, you beg for the first offer, right? Then it comes, and then you become picky at that point because let me see what else is coming, right? Mm-hmm. So I talked about this a few weeks ago. There's a coach. They offered a kid. The kid says, "Hey, I'm good. I'm gonna take my options and make a decision this summer." Well, the problem is you give yourself an opportunity to be recruited over at that point because that summer, going into the spring, like there's another portal period, right? That starts like that after, like right at the beginning of the summer. That has to be done really quick if they're still going to do it this year, but they did last year. So in that time, the guy got to evaluate other kids. And he thought, well, I kind of like this guy better than him. So if that kid would have taken that offer, he'd be sitting in there and he turns around. Now he has nothing, right? And I think you got to be, this day and age, it's very difficult to just sit there and think you're going to, unless you're a national level recruit, right? A national level recruit is a guy that gets clusters of offers, right? They come in clusters and they're guys that have a bunch of them, right?
But national level recruits, they also get bypassed too.
Oh yeah,
you don't have forever.
Well,
you got to enter that into your thought process.
I mean, there was a kid recently in our region within the last 2-3 years was a All-American and waited to do it after the December signing period and it was not open.
No, yeah, there besides committable and non-committable, there are, whether it's spoken or unspoken, time limits as to when you can commit as well.
Yeah. So that's a great piece of advice. When you start getting offered, I mean, I always tell our kids, you need to ask them what the timeline is.
Yes.
When they need an answer, and you'll know if they want it right now, they'll tell you.
They'll push it.
If they tell you got kind, chances are they really want you or they're just kind of not really sure about you anyway. So it's just a placeholder.
Yeah.
So you got to, that's a really good probing question to ask people because if you don't ask them, you don't know. You just assume you put on your Twitter bio, blessed to receive an offer. Well, is it legit?
Because there are coaches who will tell you, we need to know by 6:00 tonight.
Yeah.
Whether you're coming or not. And a lot of times that they will force, I've seen kids be forced into a verbal. And, now this was back in the day, a little few years ago. I don't think as much anymore that kids feel compelled to, well, my word is my bond and I give them my word and I got to stick to this, but back then kids did. They were like, man, they told me I had to commit right now or else. And my advice to that was usually say, okay, well, I'll take my chances.
Yeah.
If you're not 100% sold and sure your family's not, take your chances.
Yeah. Now, though, I would say it's a little more difficult because it's like, hey, if I got that spot,
yeah,
you might want to take it only because what else do you have, right? I mean, unfortunately, you hate to say
Well-
that, and you hope that someone gets more offers,
Yeah.
and has better offers or something that's better, more up their alley. But you don't want to go in regretting your commitment either.
You don't. But what's interesting about the flip side of the whole transfer portal thing is, you hear a lot of guys say, "Oh, I'm slept on." Right? I'm a dog. I'm slept on. Well, you have that opportunity to prove that. Go to a smaller school. Right? Go to a smaller school, kill it there, and you will have your opportunity to jump up.
I saw one of the kids,
all the time.
One of the kids we mentioned, Jay Parker, that was at Timberland High School, Northwest Missouri. He's got 2 years to go. I saw he entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Be curious to see where he ends up.
Was that you? I think you gave that advice on the air.
I did, and I saw him go into it, and I was like, oh, well, he's going in. And it stinks for the D2 schools that are losing those guys, but at the same time, this is the farm system that the NCAA used to try to prevent. When a kid would go from a lower level school up, mandatory had to sit out a year. And I think doing the one-time free transfer, that has completely eroded that concept, and now you're getting those guys that are coming out of farm systems, so to speak, and getting developed and going, and it really has affected JUCO football.
It's going to affect everybody, and it's going to suck for everybody, because you're not going to know who your team you love, rah-rah, is from year to year. Look at Ohio State, right? Back in the day, they knew who was who, and you knew who was who. Look at Washington State, or Oregon State, right? Yeah. Coaches would leave, and players were stuck there, and there's something to be said about that argument. It's not fair. However, how do you get behind, your team like you used to? Like know all the players, know all the stats, know all the names. Well, that guy's only here temporarily, right? You bought him for that year.
Yep.
You don't know where he's going to be next year. You can have a completely different team. And I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of people starting to wake up to that and cry about that on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
And so it's changing the dynamic of the game. Is that loyalty going to remain to those teams, or is it just strictly mercenary and I just want to win at all costs and I don't care?
Well, I don't even think it's do I want to win. I think it's where do I go to get paid?
Well, I'm talking about from a fan perspective.
Yeah,
from a fan perspective.
Oh, yeah, from a player perspective.
How's that going? Yeah, from a player's perspective, forget it. That's the die is cast. Yeah.
It's die is cast. And so I do think, though, it's an interesting model, but I do think it's very similar to the NFL. So when they were going to strike a number of years ago, one of the comments, I was talking to a bunch of NFL guys that were back in the facility around that time. And, the dangerous thing is that, those guys' life cycle in the NFL is 2 to 3 years, right? And then the superstars stick around. But the problem is that they don't have the leverage they think they have, because a Bears fan is a Bears fan is a Bears fan, right? And a Bengals fan, and I don't know how you could be a Browns fan. I know a few of them, but those guys are tried and true to their city and their team, right? And push comes to shove, like whoever they have is whoever they have. Now they can complain about it, but they are still fans. The issue becomes when you have, college football, you have a lot of transient fans that are, you have a lot of people that live in St. Louis that are Ohio State fans or Michigan fans that really don't have an elite, tie to the school other than that's their team, right? Yeah. And so, maybe those are the guys that when they start to see the free agency effect and just like, maybe they don't have the same loyalty. But yeah, Ohio State's a great example. I mean, they're losing their quarterback.
They're losing 10 guys, and I know a bunch of them are guys who are starters and offensive starters. And so the spread, which I don't know anything about football betting, but the spread went from 6.5 down to 2.5, to where some are like, well, Mizzou should probably be the favorite.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see as we get closer to see who the actual guys that opt out or stay or play or whatever. Mizzou sounds like they're mostly all going to play, right?
So, yeah. So, I mean, the 7 guys that are transferring, nobody's a starter.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of. And what's really interesting about it is, did Ohio State, did their players like, well, we didn't make the playoff, so we really don't care. You go ahead and win that bowl game, Mizzou.
I just have a hard time with
and we're gonna be about us. And while at Mizzou, they're like, man, this is it, right? It's a dream. 10-win season, get a chance to play Ohio State. So
isn't that what it's all about?
It should be,
right?
But this is what I'm talking about. What we're seeing the changeover,
Yeah.
right? To where now you have these mercenary, and I hate to say that, but it really is. It's about me. Well, I don't like it. I don't like this. I do, I want my cake. I want to eat it too. I want pink icing on it, So, well, Ohio State fans, yeah, thanks for the time. Thanks for the laughs. But, you go ahead and lose to Mizzou, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy that, Ohio State fans.
Yeah, because
We're
they're
gonna
on to
move
the
on.
next. They're on to
On
the
to the
next
next
thing,
thing.
right? And I think people will wear that fan base is a little different than a pro fan base, right?
Yeah.
Because they're used to free agency and change and watching the ebbs and flows of it. Because then you also got fantasy football and that whole component, and obviously the betting and all that stuff, which I don't know very little about, honestly. But I think you're right. It's gonna really start to wear. And then the other thing is to your point, these guys are getting NIL deals, right? They're getting paid. Is there a stipulation as to how many games they've played, their performance, whatever it might be? Because if someone's given, let's just call it Marvin Harrison, a couple $1 million or whatever he's making NIL, he doesn't want to risk anything going because he's going to the NFL,
right?
Which is that other than the guys playing in the playoffs, there's been a trend of that for years where guys just opt out. But is that really living up to the person that supported them and giving them the money to do whatever they're doing and wearing Cartier watches and all that stuff on the sideline? I mean, at what point, do the law of, the economic laws start to kick in and people say, this isn't worth my money to pay these guys?
Right. Exactly. And the fans to follow it or back it. And eventually will only the playoffs matter? Will all the other bowl games become completely irrelevant because guess what? Their best players aren't going to play because they want to transfer or they're going to go to the league.
Yeah,
so now
next year we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. So then what are you actually going to be watching? The product is going to suffer is the point that I'm trying to make all along through all this is the product is going to suffer. Will it suffer this year? No. A couple years, maybe not. But the long-term effect of this, unless things change, is probably pretty bleak.
So we haven't talked about it. What'd you think about Florida State not getting in? Undefeated.
I understand it, but here we go. Here's the thing. They're undefeated, but they don't have their best player. Here we go. Don't have their best player. Their games have been, won by the defense. Who really wants to see that?
Right. And the committee clearly said they did it because they weren't the same team.
Not the same team. Yeah. There you go. So there's that. So will the only players who play be the ones who play in the playoff bowl game?
Yeah. I see that happening.
I absolutely see that
for sure.
And that's what it's going to boil down to. So it's going to change, college football forever. Then you're going to see you toss in the NIL, right, and the transfer portal, and you're going to shrink the size of college football.
Oh yeah, it's already being squoze, if so to speak, as we speak. I mean, it is. It's come on. But
it's going to be. It's going to go from a slight squeezing to just a
orange juice.
That's it. Yeah.
And I think the sad part, with extra pulp. The unfortunate thing is there's so many good football players at all levels that I think it's going to, and we're in a dangerous spot because as we go back to all these guys chasing clout and this and that, the number of times I've been told, my son wants to play football, but he's only going to do D1. That's all he wants. And if he doesn't get to do D1, he's just going to go to school. And part of me, you see the side of like, hey, that's a hell of a lot of work to go to a school where you don't really enjoy the school. And it's a lot of work for, show up with 3,000 fans. Right. So there, I get that side of the argument. But on the flip side of it is if you really love competing and you're like a guy like a Cody Schrader who goes to a school where they probably got 5,000 people there at a game, I don't know, and you compete and do the best you can, let the chips fall where they may, I think it paid off for him. So, but at the same time, like I do get the all or nothing thing, but the reality of it is do you really love football or do you love the thought of football, right? Do you want to go on the recruiting visit and put on the uniform and then you post it to all your friends? And then, the dirty little secret is no one's happy for you, right? They're all, well, why is he at this? I'm better than him. You
Yeah,
know,
that's my DMs.
that happens all the
That's my
time, right?
DMs.
We hear it all
Why
the
him,
time.
not me?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
why is he there? I should be there.
Yep.
And the reality of it is like, yes, you should enjoy the process of being recruited because you're trying to find the best scenario for yourself and in your future. You don't have all the answers. You still got to get there and things got to go in your favor. But if you don't have that plan and you don't work towards it and you're just kind of going for the wrong reasons, you're going to get burned. That you're going to get burned. It's as simple as that. You're going to listen to people that give you bad advice. You're going to take an offer that probably isn't right for you, and you're going to be burned. And then a year in, you're looking to go in the transfer portal, right? And there's still a lot of kids left in the transfer portal. I forgot the number. I heard it was like 2,000 or something.
Oh, it's more than that.
That got left in the last cycle that
Yeah.
never played football again.
Yeah, I hear it's like something like 5,000 who won't get a chance to play again.
I let that sink in, and I know you think that it won't happen to you. It'll happen to you if you don't have a plan.
Right.
Unless you are one of those guys that they're on 3, or who are those guys are that placing values on guys.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Like they like
some of them will give you a free edit if you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if that's what your goal is in this, just go shoot a video for you. And don't get me wrong, there's some really cool videos that kids can do, keepsakes, but it doesn't do anything for your recruiting. It does not do anything. If anything, it makes you look a little bit audacious, a little bit out there, that where coaches might be like, I've already recruited guys like this. I don't want to deal with him.
Yeah.
You know what your best film needs to be? Your highlight film.
Yes.
Your best highlight film is your best 5 plays up front, and show yourself doing the best you can do and paint a picture, because that's what matters.
I got to tell you what, there's guys at your high school right now, guys and gals at your high school that can make killer edits and killer hype videos for you if you want, and they'll do it for nothing. Not even, you letting me know, what school are you leaning towards or what school are you going to pick. I'll make the sweet edit. They're at your school. They're at your high school.
Mm-hmm.
And they can do it, and it's second nature to them.
Yeah, because kids are really talented with
that. Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, yes, have fun with it, enjoy the process. Sure. But if you're not working hard, and what do I mean by working hard? If you're not eating right, if you're not sleeping, you're not hydrating, you're not training, you're not lifting and running, and studying film, and you have time to do all that other stuff, that's a problem, right? That's a real big problem.
Yeah. Season's over with. And so, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. I mean, you want to take the rest of December off to recover. And a lot of people are going to the 7-on-7 tryouts or whatever. And then come January, you better have your plan set and start to be implemented come January. So
I was talking to a good friend of mine. He's involved on the baseball side of things. And I was talking to a scout, an NFL scout, and I relayed what I'd found out from one of the baseball guys. And so I've talked to you about, we have a process inside of our facility where they use force plates. Okay. And the force plates gather a immense amount of data based off of your athleticism. So your ability to explode and control your body throughout the process of jumping, which a full body movement, either sprinting or jumping, are the best two to give you an idea of what type of athlete you're working with. And, they've gotten to the point now where, based off of these metrics with maybe a few other things mixed in there, they can tell you what a person's worth dollar-wise to them when they're in high school.
That's fascinating.
They know. And you know how they know? They benchmark all the guys that have been successful. And if you don't fit in those parameters, they know this guy's a cheap guy. He's he's kind of a farm club guy. This guy here in the middle, he's doing, and this is an outlier. This is the guy we got to identify, and this is the kind of guy we got to pay. Don't think that's not going to happen in football soon enough, because the problem with football is we have the 40, the broad, the vert, and pro agility. Those are the main ones, plus the L cone, and then bench press, which is kind of fallen out of favor.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is as we get deeper into it, you better believe the more money that gets involved, especially at college level. The pro guys do it real differently because they have a smaller pool to go after. But as the money gets better in college at those bigger programs, you better believe the technology is going to get there, and you're not going to cheat it by just showing up and being a good athlete, right? you have to work at it, and you have to hone your body, and you have to develop yourself. Because if you're not doing that, somebody else will. And that's the beauty of America, right? Like somebody else will be willing to put in the work. And so at that moment in time when you can really distinctly just divide athletes out based off of that, not a 40. That's why people hate the laser 40. You can't cheat it. But the crappy thing about a 40 is that technique is a huge component in how fast you run, right? So, a jump is a jump, right? Standing on the ground, jumping up, it's really difficult to cheat, right? Just because it's gravity. There's gravity involved. Yeah. And once that happens and you jump and you come back down, it is objective. It is very focused on what you did, and there's nobody in there who's fudging numbers. There's nobody doing anybody favors, right? And they know what it looks like. So I would say within the next 5-10 years, you're going to see that technology have caught up into the NFL, and then will trickle its way into college. And that's how they're going to start to really identify who the high performers are.
Yeah, you're already seeing guys like do away from having guys with fast thumbs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Making you faster than you are. But data and algorithms, I mean, that's the future of everything. And it is, it's coming down to football. Now, you still have to be able to play the game. There's some really great athletes out there can't play a lick of football. And you definitely want to have to hone those skills and improve it and get the proper information, knowledge, and training in order to be that guy when you're ready. Because you really want to be a mix of both. Mm-hmm. And those are the elite guys, the guys who are a combination of both.
Yeah, and I think the tough thing is that there are a lot of guys that are really good athletes that don't know a lot about football, and they get to college thinking that they're going to learn it, and they don't understand the speed of the game. If you're just a really good athlete and you don't have great skill and you don't know the game very well, you're in trouble when you get to college.
Yeah. And this is how you can be a really good high school football player and not be a college prospect.
Correct. Oh, yeah. All the time. Happens
both
all the time.
ways, yeah. You're either a great athlete or you're a really good football player and not a great athlete. And, that's why you see guys who are like, well, man, he killed it in high school. Well, yeah, he was a really great high school football player.
And he's a great effort guy, but fit the scheme perfectly. And you always say, though, but the thing is, God doesn't give you everything, because if he did, it'd be cheating, right? So whatever those inefficiencies you have, that might be knowledge of game, it might be explosiveness, it might be technique. Whatever that is, I promise you don't have all three if you're in high school. The best recruits in our area do not have all three.
That's a fact.
Okay? You have to figure out what those are. That's why you got to get around people that know what they're doing, that have done it before, right? I mean, with all due respect, we have more guys that we've trained that are playing the NFL than most of the guys walking around, that are trainers, have trained high school kids. I mean, that I'm not saying it to be mean.
Yeah.
The reality of it is, right, that's how it works. Like, if you're around people that are really good at what they do, they yield really good results, right?
Yeah.
And if
I mean, just take one guy. You tweeted out about Jamie Pond, and the offensive line training at Elite. I mean, what are you going to say about that? What can you come up and be like, no, you don't want to do that? Well, gee, let's go down the list.
But the problem is, we have people that go, I don't know. I mean, they do a lot of pass set work. What do you think college football is? That's what they do in college. If you watch college football games, if you can't pass set efficiently, you will never play it down in college football. You won't, if you're an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not used to having guys rush you at multiple angles and with different moves, and you're not good at it, you're going to get exposed in college, because they're really damn good at it, right? I mean, you look at our receivers, you look at the running backs, you look at defensive backs, linebackers, quarterbacks. I mean, we have so many kids that have come through, and then guys that have gone through and now are coaching and teaching what they learned through our process, and being a part of that. I mean, we had guys.
You've had so many that they're actually branching out into other areas.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, a quick story. A guy that I trained for years. He was with the Rams, Austin Davis. I was his first quarterback coach. He played in college.
Yep.
At Southern Miss. He was a baseball guy, walked on, played football, made it to the NFL, got to St. Louis and said, hey, I'm not used to doing 3 and 5 step drops, because I never did in college.
Right.
So we start working with him, train him for, I think, 4 or 5 years, whatever time he was here. He started a number of games with the Rams. He ended up going out to Seattle and bounced around a little bit. He was Russell Wilson's quarterback coach the last 4 years that he was in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. A guy that we trained is then now training Russell Wilson. Yeah, he's a great X's and O's guy as well, right? Obviously. But he's doing things and teaching and working on things that we worked on because that's his framework. It was trained with us, right? So I think, it's pretty unique when you get to see that and you see the inner workings of, how fast it can happen for somebody, but the work that was put in, on the front end. But yeah, the game can take you a lot of different directions, but if you're not working and you just hope it's going to happen, it ain't going to happen, or at least the way you want it to.
Right. So before we get out of here, Mizzou going to the Cotton. We've talked around it, but we haven't really talked about it. Your thoughts?
Excited, really excited. Talked to a bunch of the guys. I think it's just going to be a situation where I think Mizzou will be ready. I think Ohio State's a hell of a team. I think Mizzou is going to want it, and I think it'll be curious. I'm really curious to see how it goes. I'm thinking about going. I don't know if we're going to pull the trigger or not, but the dates kind of work out. So it might be a situation we get to go to. So I'm really excited. I think it'll be a culmination of a great season. I think Mizzou, I heard Brady was talking about it the other day. I mean, they really won a bowl win. They had that one from Army slip through their hands a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then last year wasn't a great effort against Wake Forest. So,
well, not only that, but this would be their biggest bowl win against a quality opponent.
Last time they were in the Cotton Bowl, we won though, right?
Yeah. Even if
10 years ago.
Yeah, even if, I was going to say, even if, they don't have their starting quarterback and other guys, it's still going to look in the record books like, hey, we beat Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going to have a little asterisk there that says, hey, well, the starting quarterback transferred out and all these other guys transferred out.
We owe Ohio State.
You Mizzou fans will take it.
we owe Ohio State for what Andy
1976.
Katzenmoyer did to Corby Jones at Mizzou back in 97.
Yeah.
I witnessed it. It was one of the nastiest hits I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
D. Cleater. He nailed him.
Well, good luck with that. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Mizzou stands a pretty good chance of winning, and it will elevate the program. They might even get a recruit to flip out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it might be a bowl game for a recruit, big name recruit.
Yeah, that's the word that could possibly be on the line. So it could be recruit bowl.
Yeah, I'd take Mizzou's chances in that. That'd be good.
Recruit bowl. Oh, you know something that I don't.
No, I don't know anything.
Oh.
I'm just.
I don't either. Then
reading tea leaves.
I don't either. Then I don't know anything. But that was always going to be a possibility. Now we skirt around that. State championships are done with. Liberty North wins Class 6. Did you get a chance to see that game at all?
I did. I got to watch it online. It got a little chippy at the end, but you know what? Hats off. Liberty North played a hell of a game. And you called the beginning of the year, said they were one of the top teams.
They were my number one team at the beginning of the year. And they surprisingly lost to Lee Summit North, but it's the first game of the year. So you can't really cry about that, even though somebody may have, and look, it's a long season. That's why you can't let your emotions get the best of you out of game one of the season. And they just had the dudes, four or five D1 guys, 4 of my top 25 guys, are on that team, including, a couple of top 10 guys.
Yeah. I think they were physical. They wanted it. They were definitely they out physical them. I mean, I know it's easy to say, oh, they wanted it more, but it appeared to me bigger, stronger, faster.
Yes, there was that, and there was the past 2 years CBC knocked them out, including last year on their home field in the semis. Very cold. It was very cold, and they knocked them out. And let me tell you something. They remembered both of those 2 years. You remember Andy Katzenmoyer hitting Corby Jones. This is a little more recent. They remembered, and guess what? They got their payback.
They did, and hats off to them. They did a great job, and they won. And I think knowing Coach Pingle, he'll rally the troops. They'll be ready to go next year. And hey, they made it to the state championship game. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, I mean, that's pretty outstanding.
Absolutely.
I mean, how hard is that? I mean, there's a lot of variables. You're losing kids every year. I mean, that just shows they got a really good system going.
It really is. And Coach Pingle said to me at the beginning of the year, but before the season started, he's like, everybody's gunning for us. Everybody's we're going to get their best game. A lot of guys have payback in mind. And if it wasn't Liberty North, Lee Summit North would have had payback, because guess what? CBC knocked them out
Yeah,
as
got
well.
them last year.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, either way you go, you got to come in, you got to be prepared. You can't, if somebody's punching you, somebody's getting a little chippy, push back.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can say about that.
Yeah.
Also, Cardinal Ritter, 2 different classes. Class 3 state champs last year, Class 5 state champs this year. Republic gave them a game.
Yeah.
But again, just a system, tough, hard-nosed football. Ritter had the speed and the athleticism and the skill.
Yep.
But Republic kept in it for a while. I know some of the people thought it was that was close. It really wasn't close.
Yeah.
Because I think the average
be a little deceiving.
The average Ritter score was like 1:05.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you would have Republic hold the ball for like 12 minutes, grind it out, maybe score, and then Ritter get the ball back.
That's the tough thing. If you're going to do that and you're going to grind out the clock, you have to score if you're going to do that. Because if you know the other guys can score, then you're in trouble. But I've heard, and I don't know if this this may or may not be true. We'll have to see what happens next year. That Ritter could get bumped to 6.
Is that right? I heard
they were crazy.
Yeah, I heard that they're in 5 for a couple years.
So a guy that told me was a little he was
in the know.
The
head of Misha,
and he was like a little like, oh my God, can you believe 6? I'm like,
yeah,
that would be a little. That was my point. Was that would be pretty fast to do. I
was
right?
asked that question, and so I kind of looked it up a little bit, and it looked like it said that it was going to be a couple years.
You have to do 2 years,
I believe so.
And then if they win again next year, then they will probably for sure get bumped up.
Most likely.
So
but that's going to be interesting, and they really don't lose a lot of guys.
No, they're going to reload. The Coach Spain's doing a really good job, and.
Great job. Yeah. One of the first interviews we had here on the show from him, actually had a couple of different times talking to him, and he's done a great job, done it right, and good for him. And then Kearney beating Hillsborough in Class 4. Not a surprise. That Kearney team is just tough.
Really,
you see a lot of physical toughness coming from the west side of the state.
Yeah,
might not have the athletes that St. Louis does.
Probably a lot of weight room wins too. Guys that are serious about the weight room.
Serious about the weight room. Serious about the system. Just
from the bottom up.
Repeat. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of those guys have middle school teams that are actually tied in through Misha.
Yep.
Right, Misha sponsored sports, which none of those exist in the St. Louis area, except the only one I know it would be closest to us is Troy.
Mm-hmm.
They run like the actual Misha, sanctioned middle school, which more schools here probably won't do that because of the costs. But Park Hill Central though, that's as close to us, right? They got a solid win.
Yeah,
they're a really
good Seneca team.
Yeah, really good team.
They have players, and the unfortunate thing that is about that is little southeast, of St. Louis. You really don't hear. It's almost like radio silence on that, and I'm hoping to change that a little bit going forward because it's.
Yeah, they're close. They're not that far away.
They are, but still, you don't hear anything.
Yeah,
you probably. Think about it. You hear Jackson, right? Maybe a little bit of Cape, but that's it.
Yeah, Park Hill Central, but they have some really good athletes. They got it's a small town environment.
They play good football.
I've heard it's a really fun place to go play games. I've heard, it's really really cool.
Yeah, I've been there. I remember spending a cold, rainy night there when. Coney Ely was and his New Madrid team was playing them, and just kind of put it to them. But
I could see that.
Yeah, so congratulations to all those teams, and hard to believe, man, the season's gone by that fast.
It's exciting because it was a great season, but at the same time, the beauty of football is we get to start working for next year.
Oh, it's a year-round sport.
Like you walk into our facility, the biggest sign in there is next season starts today, and that's kind of the motto we live by because you know what? We're already looking forward to next year. Now, if your season just ended this weekend, take some time off. Let your body rest, recover. I know some guys jump right into basketball and wrestling.
Don't worry about winter camps. I had that question posed to me. What winter camps should my kids go to for the best exposure of colleges? The answer?
Wait to the spring. I mean, let your body recover. Start working.
Which would tell me none.
None. Right. I would wait to the spring, and there's, it's not even a question if something's in right now. In December, January, February, like it's too fast. I mean, you got to let your body recover. And those scores, it's on you. Those scores are going out to colleges. So if you think you're running your fastest 40 and jumping your best right now coming out of the season, you're a different type of athlete than most athletes are. You need to let your body recover and start working on those skill sets so you can test appropriately and get a little weight back on your body.
Yeah.
Do you want that stuff going out to schools? It would be my question.
And then go to a couple events where you're going to be able to test, find out where you're at, find out where you need to work at. And then the camps that will get you exposure are college camps.
Yeah.
You want to go to those?
100%. And I think Leonard Woods, May 31st, June 1st.
The Mecca.
That's it.
The mega is the Mecca. So that'll do it for us this week. We'll go ahead and chime in again next week or as far as we can through the holiday season and then pick it up again. And lots to talk about football-wise. So
heck yeah, always is.
Everybody, take care. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you next week.